we have one more presentation during this session. It is by Elisa Barros. Yes. Our precious guest from Belgium, from Atelier du Papier. Yeah. And the presentation is about restoration of a book collection, or a materiality of a book collection. So please.
Yes, please. Sorry. I don't know where I should be. Yeah, it's good. You see me? Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for these invitations and give me the opportunity to share my work with you. I work in more practical way. It means I work not with a specific collection, but with books in general. So I cannot say that the specific problems of one collection, but with books and material of the books, paper. More precise. So thank you very much also for the Institute of Orientation Manuscript of the Russian Academic Science and Faculty of Asian and Africa Studies to receive me here today. It's a great pleasure to be in St. Petersburg. So to next slide. How can I do this? Just okay. Next one. So my presentation will be follow this structure. So the first thing I will introduce what is Atelier du Papier. It's a French name, and then I will make a questions that were from that questions we develop my work, and I'm paper conservation and restoration and make restoration. So that time I will explain if you make restoration or not, if in case of restoration, how we can respect the object, and then many points that I will be developed, like maintain the integrity of the object, and then you can read in the screen, materials, techniques, and how you can offer long life for the books, and how you can offer this long life for the books, but also preserve its history. But it's very important. I mean, I will explain everything and then I make a conclusion. So, l'Atelier du Papier was created in 2005. After a long time, I made an academic life, background. I am a PhD. I make a PhD in Belgium in history of art, but since after that, I'm saying it's so theoretical work. I want to do with hands. You have seen already that I talk with hands. I think it's a kind of my Latin past. So then I founded Atelier du Papier. It's in Belgium. It's a paper conservation studio. And I work for others. I mean, I do restoration in my studio, but I work with collections, library collections, archive collections, museum collections, and private collections also. So, l'Atelier du Papier, so I can, wait. This is Atelier du Papier, outside and inside. And l'Atelier du Papier work with basically, I mean, paper and books conservation, paper and book restoration, of course, and book binds and gilding, also make titles in the back of the books. I mean, you can see some here, gilding. And also you make some trainees. I mean, you provide some trainees for people that want to know more about book materials. We propose some services like for conservation techniques, because sometimes libraries need a specific point. It means, I mean, for example, I can tell you that very recent one library, university library, was worried about because they found mood in their collection. So then ask me where you can do. So this is a kind of service we propose. You propose also preventive solutions for the collections. Means how you can conserve, store, keep the constant temperatures and things like that. And also you make book binds and gilding for the collections when the owner of the collection or the book want to change it. And we provide some course. Sometimes the group of library ask me how they can how can they save or treat some books they have, but the basic treatments, then I go that the place to give some lessons. And book bind shops we provide, and the proposal also conservation consultants in general. So when I decided to turn my career to paper conservation, I mean, I made no university course and university course, of course. And one of the courses that was very important for me was to hold in Japan, in Tokyo. I mean, I spent 2 weeks there. And we work, well, so if you can read, so it's not necessary that I explain. I mean, this is an internal course provided every year for 10 papers conservator around the world. I've been there in 2015, and it was a Russian student with me, I mean, a paper conservation with me. And it's really interesting because that time we get inside, I mean, I learned Japanese techniques and materials already before, but that time we are inside of the context. I mean, we visit some studios and we work with Japanese paper conservators, so it was really interesting. I think for me it was one of the most best courses I made about paper. So let me see. So this is a way. I don't need to read. I mean, you know, it's the purpose of the course is offered to carrying of such collection outside of Japan and inside into the material and techniques, of course, of paper mounting tradition and the principles of guide the care of such collection in Japan. But also that course intends also to form or help West paper conservators to help with the Japanese collections is housed in our museum in West countries. So it is quite interesting. And also it's interesting that make a bridge between West and East countries, especially with Japan, of course. Then it was really, really interesting. I mean, I can talk about this if you want more later, or if you want to have questions, just ask me. Okay, sorry about this brief introduction of myself and my work. You can see, I still have some pictures from the Japan that time. I mean, you have been, it's the group was there in the picture, and you learn in practical way also, theory in practical way. I mean, you make some practical work. I mean, I brought some work here. You can see after that if you want. So, well. At least we were at my initial questions, what I used to say. I mean, it's more for you, like as a library. When you find a book like this in your collection, what you can do? Sometimes it's like, wow, what you can do with this. So, the first question is, restore or not restore? I mean, if you want to keep it longer, of course, you try to restore. But maybe you can apply before some conservation, preventive conservation techniques to keep it that state, not go further on. So, voilà, this is the first question for me: is it restore or not restore? But as I said before, when I presented myself, I'm restoration. I mean, I paper restoration, so I restore in general. But we can see after that what's going on. So, of course, okay. If you restore, how you can maintain the integrity of the object? It means respect it, make steps, treatment that are have accessibility of the materials, because I cannot add something that will get worse than it was. Sincerity. I explain every point in details. Compatibility of materials, and then make documentation of what you did. So, for the respect, I mean, you respect the material of the book, of course. As far as possible, the material should be identical to those of the original object, or at least married with the object, the original material of the object. Reversibility. The material used must be fully reversible, and remain in the context of restoration. I mean, it should be justified why you add this material in the restoration. Sincerity. So the purpose of restoring documents is not centered only in solidify the object, but also to restore part of its original appearance. It means like the aesthetical aspect is good. It should be okay. Should be good also. Compatibility is about compatibility between materials used to the treatment, and of course make documentation. Everything you do in a book, it should be noted, should be kept, because now you'll be part of the history of the book. So we have some materials. Some materials we use it also Japanese. Most of the materials I can say is Japanese. I mean, with the brushes, of course, the paper, brushes, how the way you make glue paste. Also, it's tradition Japanese. The spray diet and the way where you make the glue, the past, also it's Japanese. So this is the normal material that you use in our studios. And about the paper, I mean, you have three kinds of paper. I can tell you that Kozo is a fiber made by Kozo. It's the more popular one. It's that one you use all the time because it is a kind of paper. It's appropriate for most of the kind of conservation technique because it is straight. It's long. It has long fiber, and between 10 and 15 millimeters, and it's malleable. Also, it's soft. And you have many variations of this kind of paper. Means in grams, how many grams per meter. And color is a little bit variated, but in general it's good also. And it could be used as preparation, sample preparation, could be also by lion. I mean, we're going to talk about all these techniques after that. And the other two, Gampi and Mitsumata, they are less used. Sometimes you use Matsumata, but it's very occasionally when you have to match with the color of the waste paper or the original paper of the book. And also the Gampi. The Gampi is very limited to use also, but sometimes you restore some value cover, so then you use this, but it's not the two last ones is not very frequently used. What about the tools I told about already? And you have also and pass because I think my slides is a little bit not a good way. Another technique specific Japanese also we use. I mean, I explained you already. I mean, to make glue there, and karibahi. This is a kind of panel that you use to dry papers. It's a kind of panel made with 7 layers of paper, and they used to dry, and it's very specific Japanese. I mean, now we're using in West paper, in West countries, but we learned in Japan. We didn't know it before. It's the same structure of byombu. You know, I mean, if you know it's the same structure, I mean, it's almost the same way to make it. And I use to dry papers because it's dry but slowly and respect the movement of the paper when the water gone, if I can say. So I came back. How can I come back to the? No. Oh, excuse me. How I can come back to my slides? Sorry. Ah, there. Because I have some time. 10 minutes, okay. For the techniques, when you face the book that you decide to restore a book, then what do you do? I mean, the first thing you make examination. I mean, you examine the book in all details. I mean, you take notes and register the initial state, the initial state of the book when it's arriving in Atelier de Papier. Then you make tests. It means see if the ink it's good or not good. Good or not good, sorry. It's if the ink is stable, I mean, it's not go away, because if you decide to make a treatment that you need to put some solvents, it means water or what else, ink could go. So that doesn't make sense. I mean, restore and try to make more problems, the image of the colors in the book. So you have make test, then we clean, so dry clean. First things is clean, first dry clean, and then after you can also give bath to the paper. Some people are, the last slide is there, some people are quite impressed. You put paper under the paper, the water? Yes, you do. Of course, you make all the tests before. But we try to avoid this technique. Why? Because if you wash the paper, you can change the characteristic of the paper. So it doesn't make sense so much if you don't want to change it. But it's happened sometimes. So this is on the technique. Here, some problems specific of Japanese paper. I mean, you can see there are some holes made by insect. Then you can patch, just put paper that fill the gaps. You can do it by machine. Also, then take the paper, and put the machine, and the machine fill up to the holes, the gaps. You can see the two image. And you can line the paper also. So it means we add another paper, thin paper, in the back of the paper, the original paper of the book. But also, once again, we change the aspect of the paper. So it is some treatment that you have not to do like that, just to amuse them. Another problem that you have with Japanese books, it's sewing. It's the most fragility part of the book. If you open the book, then we force sometimes. So this is a kind of problem that's quite frequent in our collections. And that time I can, Atelier de Papier can change the swing or just repair. It's happened also. I told you. So we arrive in offer a long time to the book. So how you can offer a long time to the book and try to don't restore it or restore as minimal as possible. Now, you can construct a specific content of the books. You see here, you can see two types different, I mean, the constructor, and some Atelier de Papier every time think about each book, each content. I mean, the content is made for the book. It's not for whole the collection. You cannot make like a prototype and then say all the books will be fixed then. No, it's the opposite way to think. I mean, the book, and then you construct the contents to store that piece of collection. And then I put another one, it's a clack system. I'm not paid for them to make publish, but it's quite nice, more for Europe books, that, I mean, it's a modulated support. Then you can open the book, adapted to and modulated the clack system to open the book more adapted to. Mm-hmm. So how you can preserve for the future on books? Here I just decide to show you some pictures. The first thing is keep everything of the book, even you change. Then I show experience I had in my Atelier de Papier, that the owners of the collection absolutely, he wants absolutely change the cover, because the old cover is not good and not fixed at all. Then we did, but you keep the old ones. And I told him, keep together. So we make a box. I mean, you cannot see so much, but you make a box that he has a new book, a report, means the document that we wrote everything, and the old cover, old plates of the book. Another thing that you think about for the further research is when you add things, make a slight difference that you can see it was new one. Then you see here in the second picture, I mean, we add some leather, but it's completely different the other one that you can see it's new add. And the other thing Atelier de Papier used to do, it's make a report. I mean, everything you did with the book, it's write down. So the further research, you see that we change what you did. Even if the book is going to the new restoration, the new restoration, you see what you did before. So, we arrive at the conclusion. I have time to do. How does cultural property survive? It survives if we apply all the preventive measures with the collections, but I can tell you sometimes you need to restore that piece survive too. I mean, we prefer it's not to arrive to make the work, but sometimes you have to do. So as library, you should think that if you restore, we help to conserve the object. And what should we preserve and what should we change in the object for keep it safe and conserve it as long as possible? This is a very, very difficult question, even for us paper restoration, because we don't know we can do until what the limit of the restoration, what the limit is. It's quite difficult to think about that. But anyway, we should decide, and you should be on face and say, yes, you have to change. And that part will not change, but you have to keep it safe as possible. Here I take three examples. I mean, my book in the initial question, that one we decide don't do anything. This is the two first books is Atelier de Papier collection. So then we decide the first one, we decide don't do anything, and then you see further one, I mean, in 10 years, how it is. If he stayed the same situation it is now, or it gets worse, because we didn't do anything. The second one is a collection. I mean, I have all these books here. The second one, it's a collection. It's 2 volumes of one collection. What you did, we restored one volume and do not restore another one. But we make a case, I mean a box, that you keep both in a box, and you go also see after that when it was continue their life. And then the other one is not Japanese book, I'm sorry, but it's a book from the archives in Belgium that they ask us to restore it because they will show in an exhibition. So we can see a restoration before the left for you, the right side is before restoration, and the left side it's restored. So we try to respect everything, but thank you very much. And if you have questions before, before question, if you would like to, you can. Voilà. This is on, I say, smarty books that you don't do anything. You can manipulate it if you want. This one, it's one we made in Japanese GPC in Tokyo. And this one, I don't show you so much, but you just make a wrap round case. And that one I told you we have two, and you have a 4 parts case, and one was restored, and another one is not. And this is the report to fix inside of the box. And also the felt street you talk of, and it's why. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barros, for your wonderful presentation and this valuable kind of insider information. I think we'll have a time during our coffee break for observing your valuable materials, but maybe someone have any questions. Presentations, please.
Thank you for your presentation. It was really very interesting. And I have 2 questions. First of all, do you use the same techniques for restoring pages with plain text and pages with illustrations, or there are different techniques? And the second question is, if you have such a problem that you can restore the page with the full text, but there is a small illustration there and you understand that you can't restore it, what do you do? Thank you.
If in the same page, I start with the second question. If the same page has a part that you cannot restore because you cannot apply any humidity technique, because you have to think also, if you apply paste, it's humidity. So if the ink not allowed to do it, it's quite difficult. I mean, you can use you can use the paste, but the paste will be almost dry, if I can say. And you know, we have to be together with the blotting paper that we will add humidity, mean paste, but you should dry at the same time. If the ink not allowed to, this is I think if you say the page to be restored, but it has picture that you cannot restore. Which kind of restoration? It means it's tear to consolidate it. It's a gap that you can apply, fill the gap. So it's case by case. You cannot say like that. But it's happened that the page or the paper that's image and text you cannot restore. It's happened. So what you have to do in that case? Keep the weights not get worse than, you know, just provide some preventive techniques that you cannot get worse, but you cannot get better. You cannot restore. Restore, maybe it's equal to get better, but not get better, because there is part that you cannot allow to make a treatment. Aqueous treatment. This is your questions?
Yeah, thank you.
I answer it? Thank you. Sorry, you asked 2 questions.
Yeah, the first one was, do you use the same technique to restore page with the plain text and page with illustration, or they are different?
It depends. That depends of the problem. This is, I mean, we will not have recipes to say every book should be restored the same way. No, it depends of the problem. If the tears, if it's the gap, it's depends also where the problem is. Do you know? Because if in the middle of the text, we can maybe include a paper inside. Especially Japanese pages, sometimes is a 2 paper folded. So maybe you can but sometimes you cannot do that, because where it is, it's not possible to get in between the two layers of paper. I don't know if I answered.
I mean that if you have a problem with the text, so the ink has disappeared, and if the picture is going to disappear.
Also,
yes. Will you try to color it?
No, because what we say, I'm not the artist who made the image, the colors image. Though I cannot do it in his place. What I can do is stop that inks go on. You know, for example, you can consolidate it with some kind of adhesive that you can apply in specific parts that the layer of ink, because think about the paper, there is a paper, there is an ink, it's another layer over the paper. So then that time you can try to fix the ink with the paper to not go on, but I cannot remake an image because I'm not the artist. It was not me who made the draw or the image, color image. Did I answer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, we had one more question from the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. So I have an obvious question. So how much time does it take on average to restore a book depending on the, restoration type technique?
Yes. So, yes, it's quite difficult to say, estimated how many hours I pass in a book. But what I can tell you is to say I work 3 or 4 books in the same time. Because, you know, I mean, if I restore, reinforce a paper, one page in a book. Books, it's already many pages. It's completely different of a print. This is only one image, only one paper. And books has so many. So what I do is I restore, for example, one book, and then the time it's dry, I go to work in another one. So it's quite difficult to say how many hours I pass one book. I don't know. It depends of the problems that it presents. Did I?
Yeah, thank you. And what was the longest, the hardest book you ever had to restore?
I don't know. I think they have an image. Can I come back to my? It's a manuscript. It's not Japanese book, but it was a manuscript. I think I show a picture. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, now I'm gone. Sorry to wait for this one. It's one. No, I don't know. I don't. How I no that one. You see that one, the middle one. It's a manuscript of the 13th century. Was a manuscript, of course, and that one was someone lost or keep in a roof store, and on the roof store, and was avec mood. It's I don't know if you're going to mood Mosessure. It's a champion, and was quite difficult because the whole book was attacked. And the paper was like gone, really like almost fibers, amount of fibers. And that one was, for me, as the old ones I had stored, 13th century, and more difficult too. But I'm glad, sorry, I don't have image to show before and now, but I'm glad the result was quite good.
It was very informative.
We had 2 questions from our online attendance. The one was, I have one quick question. It's from Shibutani Ayako-san. In your team or studio, are you using any microscope observations to identify plant fiber material of papers? This kind of scientific examinations is very helpful for checking paper conditions and conservation.
Yes, no, we don't have, you see, it's a private studio, so you don't have machines, very, I used to say have machines, so specific machines. No, we don't do this. I know now in Japan, they do that. They examine exactly which fiber, which plant it's come from. And they sometimes prepare the papers with the same characteristic and then to match in restoration, but we cannot do. I cannot. I don't have the materials, specific materials to do that. I'm afraid, but maybe if I get bigger as a studio, I can do that.
Okay, and one more question was from Professor Van der Walle.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. You mentioned one particular item, that is the conservation of debris. So when you restore a book and you have some debris, some stuff that you have removed, normally people would tend to throw that away, but you want to keep it, which I think is a good practice. How do you ensure that it stays with the book? Because of course it is now detached from it. That's one thing. And one question, does that also apply to, let's say, scrolls? Because then of course you don't simply have paper, but you also have fabrics. So fabrics that have been worn out or have been, have deteriorated or degraded to the point that restorers replace them. But these fabrics themselves are often historical fabrics. So I always find it a huge pity if they have to remove them. But if you have to, do you advise to keep it as a sort of, I don't know, a post-mortem, a relic? And what is the general practice in that respect?
When I was in Japan, I mean, we saw that some studios, in the case, if I understood your questions, what to do in the case of the scroll books, and also the wall prints that have some fabrics.
Hanging scroll, yeah.
Is it your questions?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
When I was in Japan, I saw that they used to change the fabrics problems, and they are more frequent, like every 10 years, they change, they rebuilding the print in a new presentation, if I can say.
Okay.
We tried not to do anymore. I mean, you keep it as much as possible, and we keep it in the way that it cannot deteriorate more, but we're not changing it, because it's make part of the history of the print or the book or the hung scroll book. So you're not change anymore. You try to not change as much, not change. Try just to reinforce and keep it as it is as much as possible. I don't know if I answer your question, but
yes, yes, absolutely, you did, and I would agree with your point of view. Keep the fabric at any cost, and yeah, rather than replacing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just a short, since we have only 5 to 7 minutes for a little break. So, okay. Very general question. As far as I understand, this is privately owned business. It's owned by you. Is that right?
Sorry,
it's your studio.
Yes.
It's your, okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that Belgium Academy of Sciences or library, they were your clients. I just wanted to know, is there a state-owned, like Belgium Restoration Book Studio, or only privately owned studios?
There is, as far as I know, Belgium is not a big country, but anyway, as far as I know, there's 3 libraries that have a studio, I mean, paper conservation, books conservation studio inside of the libraries. It's one in a Flemish part, Gum, University of Gum, and another one in Namur. It's in a French part, Bump, Mauricio Plantin's library. They have inside, and then also the Royal Library, a central library of Belgium. They also have a studio there, but the other ones used to ask for the service. For example, I work 2 days a week for the library, University UCL Louvain library, but I work to them. I'm not, I mean, they have a studio because they have a studio means the place, tables and everything and all the materials, but I'm go to them. I mean, donc, 2 days a week to work to them, but they not have the post like that. I mean, this is ask for the SEPs like that.
So you're famous. Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Okay, thank you very much for your wonderful presentations. Thank you for your questions. And we have now a short break.